then in this scene, there was, this portrayal of people who are, I think the term that was in the scene was gender bending and kind of playing with gender roles and all of that. So I'm curious, what is your approach or your thought around exploring that in a historical setting where they don't have access necessarily to the language or the concepts that we modern readers might be applying to the characters that we're encountering?
It's a really interesting balance to try to strike. I, as much as possible, will try to use the terminology that people are using for themselves at the time. Kasha and Sophia are both lesbians. The word lesbian doesn't appear in this first book because Kasha is still not really sure what to do with her identity or how to label that. You can see she's figuring herself out, but I purposely didn't use it in the book because that's Kasha's perspective, is that she's not really sure how she feels about labeling herself yet. We might see an exploration of that with her sort of deciding on, what labels that exist at the time work for her in book two. But I do as much as possible, try to stick with what people were calling themselves. The lavender is often called a pansy bar because that's the terminology that was being used at the time, even though pansy was, derogatory. It's a lot like any other label we've had for ourselves. It was, originally derogatory and got taken back by the queer community at the time. I occasionally slip in more modern language when I think that it is a clarification point to the reader.
Hmm.
Um, if there's something that I really want to sort of speak to an identity and give a modern reader a sense of, the identity I'm trying to portray, and I'm not sure if the reader will have enough historical context to understand what I'm getting at, using the period appropriate language, I will absolutely make exceptions because my first concern is that my narrative stays accessible to the reader, at least, in some ways. You can kind of come along for the ride with some of the terms being used at the time, but you need to have some context.